I was enveloped into this community of hikers. I didn't really want to be around people. I wanted to be by myself. The AT is a very social event, I found out, and I was becoming part of it. I'm not an extrovert by nature. I'm fairly introverted. But I found myself saying, hey, how you doing? Hey, what's going on? And guess what? I found out all kinds of things about the trail. People were helpful to me. I practiced by smiling at the trees. It sounds silly. Because, I mean, look at this face. I don't want to meet this face, you know? So I was like, all right, I'll start smiling. The amazing thing is, the trees didn't smile back, right? But it didn't make me mad anymore. Like, hey, that tree's not smiling. It's a tree. It's not supposed to smile.
Andy, can we ask questions? I missed it at the beginning.
No.
Okay. The back one, that looks like Woodstock, I'm curious.
Yeah, that was Trail Days.
What is, with all the tents?
Yeah, with all the tents. That's where all the hikers came back and we all met together. And Trail Days is like high school reunion. I mean, not like high school. They have a prom. They elect a trail king and queen. I called Lori and said, I could be trail king. They have a parade and the townspeople will squirt water pistols at you and people will squirt back. Well, let me go back.
Is that in Damascus?
That's in Damascus. So that's why these guys are dressed in drag there. They're really normal people.
Is that guys?
Yeah, that's a guy. That's a girl, a couple of girls and a guy there. So that was a hiker parade. Okay. That's the most photographed site along the trail. It's McCaffrey Notch. McCaffrey Notch. I got a phone call. Dragon's Tooth. I was making some big miles and some big time, but it was really wearing me down. That's me jumping off a bridge. You know, if your mother said, would you ever jump off a bridge if your friends ask you to? Yeah, the answer is yeah. I proved that one. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. The only thing I want to do is to get to Katahdin. That's the only challenge I need. Okay, I'll jump. So I jumped. But at Daleville, where I never get a room, too cheap, never get a room by myself, I got a room by myself, and in the middle of the night, I needed it. So after a Wendy's chicken sandwich and Coke, I thought I could get back on the trail the next day. But tonight will be my third night at a tired motel in Daleville. I don't know when it will end. I never wanted to do 1 0, let alone 3 zeros. I've been putting in too many miles, stressing out this old body, living in the wild, lacking hygiene, and thinking I could rise above the obvious. I needed prayer. I need to listen to God. I need to wait on Him. And I don't even like waiting at Wendy's. So I made a list. And my list comprised of what have I learned so far. Number 1 was just walk. Just walk. And that's not the only thing. But what does that mean? Just to keep going. Just walk. Just to pick up your cross and follow Him. To leave a small footprint, no regrets, to smile at the trees, and when they don't smile back, it doesn't mean that they're mad at you. Uphill is good for the heart. It's bad for the knees. When your mood turns sour, look around. You may be going uphill. And so I thought maybe my list will grow, or maybe it'll get shorter. I don't know. But one thing was just let it go. Don't worry. Just let it go. And that's where I need to let things go up in the Shenandoahs, where I was hiking along one morning and we stopped for pancakes, and I saw somebody with pancakes and I went, oh, pancakes! They look so good, and they looked at me like I'm this crazed homeless guy. And I go in the bathroom and I look in the mirror, and here on my way in, I had chugged a packet, this is so gross, I chugged a packet of dry oatmeal and drank it down with a bottle of water. Well, half the oatmeal was in my beard. So I get it out of my beard, and now I gotta fix it, right? I can fix this. So I go over to them to say, you know, look, I'm not a crazy guy. So how are the pancakes? You only get one chance to make it good. After the Shenandoahs, we moved on and got out of the longest state, which was Virginia, and into Pennsylvania. In Pennsylvania, got to do the half-gallon challenge, and again, it's another food story, but here we go. A guy gave me great advice on it, because hey, stay away from chocolate moose trucks, way too heavy. Don't go to the moose trucks. I said, what about mint chocolate chip? Oh no, I've seen more chocolate chips go over that railing than anything. Hey, something about that mint. Because now Neapolitan, that's what you want to go with. You got a variety of it. You know what, this guy said a lot of nonsense, but that actually makes a lot of sense. So again, with your mother, like, no, I'm not, food challenges are dumb. Guys do that to make themselves sick. Sure, I'll do it. So anyway, I did it, and I got a little, I meant to bring my spoon to show you. But that was en route to one of the best days of my life. The best day of my life is today. And that's what Jaden always used to say. This little guy, he'd say, this is the best day of my life. And to have that innocence of a child. And I realized that I've had some really good days, but now I'm realizing that today is the best day of my life. I realized that when I climbed to the top of Cove Mountain. I sat on Hawk Rock and humbly removed my hat because I was home. I remember climbing up this trail over 30 years before with friends on a Sunday near Easter and looking over the same view. And now I reached it after walking from Georgia. The best day of my life is today. It always was and always will be. As I walked into town, I felt like the prodigal son in some ways. I walked past the little corners, little store in the market where Lori and I bought our wedding rings. I walked past a little restaurant where our sister-in-law works. I walked down to the dairy bar where Lori worked, and I drove up and surprised her after soccer practice one day from college. Walked through this town going, and it just felt so good. I remember raising our kids there when they were young. I remember Aaron asking if he could come home. And I said, yes, and I cried on the phone. And then I handed him a paintbrush and had him paint the barn that summer. And Allie bringing home Jaden. And Robbie working on his car out in the garage. And there I was. Friends and family are what made Pennsylvania for me so great. And so family in the southern part, and then friends in the eastern part. And Pennsylvania is very rocky. I climbed up this tremendous hill near Lehigh on my way to Wing Gap and Delaware Water Gap. And Doug and Kathy had bought me a meal at their friend's restaurant. Went down there and they said, Doug apparently had played football with the friends, and they said they never knew him. They said they had a Dougie one that was the equipment manager. But anyway, and then the next day I got to meet my old high school coach from a little Christian school after, my goodness, 40 years. He goes, Andy. And I said, helmet? And he goes, yeah. I said, helmet Hensel? Like there's more than one helmet, you know? He recognized me right away, and I couldn't recognize him, oddly enough. But there we were together. This man had changed my life in a lot of ways. He had got me into soccer, and I started to realize that all of life can be a worshipful experience if we let it. And that's when it first started. But Sundays were getting tougher. Sunday was the day that the police showed up at my house and said, Mr. Davidson, I have something to tell you. And every Sunday has been a very difficult time for us. But after a week or so, came back here, and got back on the trail, and I met these two more Christian guys, Bee Stinger and Tiger Bob. And we hiked our way through New Jersey, New York, Massachusetts, and Connecticut, on my way to a second mountaintop experience, if you will. Hawk Rock being the first, And the next one, which I talked about already in church, being Killington Mountain. Killington has a ski resort, and my son, for those of you who hadn't heard, was a ski lift mechanic. I couldn't have planned it out, that after how many miles, how many days on the trail, there I was on the anniversary of my son's death on a ski mountain. The gondola was going back and forth. The lodge was right there where we had lunch. It was just like the lodge where we had his celebration of life. I was overwhelmed. I mean, I could just feel not just the emotions coming out. It wasn't just an emotional experience for me. It was a spiritual, physical experience. My whole body was feeling this. My friend Tiger Bob knew it. Lunch wasn't going to be for a half hour, another hour. He waited. We waited a couple of hours there. He was very patient. I'm like, nodding eyes and cried and just, okay, let's go. Hiked down the hill, back up the other side. I put my tent down, turned around to pick up my tent poles, and they were gone. And I, of course, said a very unchristian-like thing. You can figure it out. I was screwed. I grabbed my cell phone, ran down into the woods. Tiger Bob had been behind me the whole time. He would have seen the poles fall off of my pack. I walked almost over 1,500 miles. They never fell out. They fell out of this big pocket. 20 yards in, my poles were hanging right there where you see them, off the nub of a tree. I mean, I stopped. I grabbed these poles and I lifted them to heaven and I just said, thank you, God. Thank you so much. You can come up with all kinds of explanations how it happened. I don't know if those poles went from Killington Mountain up to this mountain. I don't know. I really doubt that I never saw anybody on the trail because I was right next to the trail. I have no idea how it happened, regardless of how it happened. I know that God was taking care of me. He cared about me on that day. I felt the presence of God. I felt the presence of angels. I set up my tent. I looked down on the trail, and that's a picture of me, of Mount Killington in the dark there. And I saw this girl. She was praying. I ran down. I said, Sonic, let me tell you this story. I was like the widow who found the coins, and I wanted to share my story with everybody. She said, I stopped here because I felt the presence of angels. Wow. Now, I had a story, a trail story. I didn't know how to talk to people on the trail. Now I had a story that people would relate to, and I repeated that story over and over, how I lost my poles. My relationship with God was being restored. My relationship with my son was being restored. And my relationship with the community. In Vermont, and I really hope God has a sense of humor, that's where we saw the naked hikers. And 3 old guys walking past, and 2 older hikers walking down. And I turned around and I watched Bee Stinger coming along and went, I did a double take. I said, you looked. He goes, I never looked. I said, I saw you. Well, you looked. I said, yeah, I looked. We think it's Vermont's version of ultralight hiking. We're not really sure. Honestly, I hope God has a sense of humor. I believe he does. I believe that we were given all the emotions that God has. And that's why I know he grieved when his son died on the cross. That's how I know he's part of this club too. Just like an Israelite, when things got tough, I got down on myself. Musalak is the first mountain in the Whites, and the Whites are epic. Hikers use a couple of words a lot, and one of the words is epic. Another word is nice. I got so sick of the word nice. So where are you from? Philadelphia. Nice. Really? Have you been there? No. Because if they were, they wouldn't have said nice. That's what I did. So what are you eating? Noodles and tuna? Nice. Okay. Another word that we use a lot is epic, but you can't overuse the word when it comes to the whites. They really are epic. Mountains that are over the tree line. And Moosilauke, I climbed up there and I was exasperated. And I began to doubt my ability. I thought I was over my fears. My anxiety started to work on me. I knew that I could complete this climb. I mean, what was I going to do? Drop in the middle of the trail? What about tomorrow, the day after, and the day after that? As I got closer to the summit, the pines got shorter until they were waist high and terminated at shrub level. I tucked behind the rocks at the top on some soft moss and began to make myself lunch. Exasperated, I called my wife and whispered, "Don't let me quit." What? I said, "Don't let me quit," and I think everybody heard. "Oh no," she explained, "you're so close. You got this. You can do this." And after a brief pep talk, which was, I regained my composure. I was embarrassed. I wanted to be strong for the Lord. I didn't want to be weak. In John Eskridge's book, he talks about how men need to be strong for their wives, and I wasn't. I wandered into the wilderness. I wanted to enter into the promised land. And so here's more of the White Mountains, and these two guys up in the right, they're ridge runners. And there's this neat little system, a hut system, and they have to hike all of their food in, and they carry them on these wooden backpacks. And so that girl is hiking in with the stuff, while that guy is hiking out all of the recyclables, all the cardboard. And so for about $160 a night, you can have a night at the hut, and you get dinner and breakfast. You don't get a hot shower, you don't get hot water or flush toilets, but you get a bunk. However, if you're a through hiker, you can spend the night there for free and work if you work for an hour. And so that's what we did one night when the weather got really bad. I was so happy, thrilled to death. So I went over the presidentials, Lafayette, Lincoln, Garfield, and up Washington Mountain, up Madison. And I told my friend, Tiger Bob, I just want to enjoy this. I want to enjoy it. So the miles were cut back. 1 mile was like 2 miles in the whites. And that's where I learned it's about the journey. It's not about the destination. It's about the journey. And I wrote in my journal, after coming out of the whites, I've gone from forgettable to phantom. And the way I got my name Phantom is I told some guys I was hiking with, I said, yeah, one night I came in, set up my tent, it was raining, some people came in after me, they set up their tent, they were noisy, I never came out of my tent. The next day I got up before they ever got up, and I left before they ever even saw me. And the guy goes, oh man, you're like a phantom. Hey, that would be a good name for you. And I said, sure, it beats forgettable. People were like, really? Were you? Yeah, remember we were? Anyway, I went from, it's a nicer way of saying forgettable. I went from being forgettable to being phantom. Now I was quick to start a conversation, smile, say an encouraging word to a fledgling hiker. That was new for me. I trusted strangers. I talked to the young and old, and I let my initial judgments evaporate like the fog amongst the pines. I can still be bitter, envious, and petty, but not much. I try not to waste time with guilt, doubt, and all that crap that'll never change. I'm not a quitter. Never was. So it's time to stop thinking like one. Tomorrow I was going to walk into Maine, and that's all I needed to do was just walk. And so from New Hampshire, I journeyed into Maine. Mosaic Notch is supposedly the most difficult mile on the trail, or it's the most fun mile. And that hole right there is actually the trail that you have to walk through. You have to take off your pack and slide through there. And at one point at the beginning, there's these 20-foot boulders, and there was this sapling growing up next to it. Oh okay, I can rappel down this using this sapling. So I grabbed this sapling, and there I was like Batman, walking down the thing. And I got down about halfway and slipped, and I fell down, but I thought, you know what, this is fun. Have fun with this. And so I got through there, and I thought, all right, that's great. But that was right before Mosaic Arm, which is about 1,000 feet up in about a mile's time. So I climbed up there and exhausted, and after the climb, again, I called my wife. And she was, what's wrong? I said, well, I'm tired. But I reminded myself, but you're strong. Be strong. I said, no, I'm okay. I lied. I'm okay, really. Yeah, I'm really good. I'm just tired, that's all. And now I call from a place of strength.